I love your terminology. You're so fresh, when you talk about perfect enemy of progress, because I've been predicting, I think the water bond may very well fail because of that pork. But when we hear someone as yourself so clear-headed talk about it, maybe I'm thinking wrong at this point. It's a long way to the election, but we do need the water delivery system, but we're all appalled at all that pork.
And here's something that the next governor can do, actually. As that bond is funded, let's say that the voters pass the bond in November, and then as the bond is funded, actually the governor can blue line that bond, meaning you can strip out, a number of items that you feel are not necessary to actually, deliver on the main parts of that bond. And that's something I'd look very carefully at doing. It's the last way to get some of that pork out of there. And very few people understand that. But it's true, and I would look at that very carefully.
Do you think in California we moved in the right direction, shutting down our parks, even DMV, shutting down DMV, which was very shocking to many of us because it seems like Department of Motor Vehicles actually brings in income, in those furlough days. Did we do the right thing?
There is a way to make this government run more efficiently. And before I was shutting down the DMV, I would be looking at things like, how do we use technology to deliver more with less?
Yes.
How do we automate all the systems in California to find fraud? Estimates are there is between $4.8 and $5.2 billion worth of fraud in the administration of Medicare and Medi-Cal. Now, we'd only get half that savings, but boy, I'd take $2.5 billion.
You're right.
The headcount, the number of workers who work for the state. Today, there's about 357,000 people who work for the state of California. That's up by 40,000 workers from just 5 years ago. And we've got to look at every department, every agency, and we are going to have to reduce the size of the state workforce. There's no question about it. I mean, the cold hard truth is we have a government we can no longer afford, so everything has to be up for grabs. And it's about prioritization. What are the essential things you must do, and then you work backwards from there. And I think we can do it. I mean, I have identified $15 billion of cost savings that we can go after, and it will actually make the government work more effectively and efficiently on behalf of the taxpayers.
Meg, are you saying you can save $15 billion, and let me ask you this critical part, and not take everything away from our disabled folks or our seniors who can't help themselves?
And it will take a couple of years to get there, but we can do this. This is the farthest thing from efficient, effective government. We haven't deployed technology. We haven't managed the state workforce. Welfare, which I talk about some in one of my radio ads, we have 12% of the population of the United States of America. We have 32% of the welfare cases.
Wow.
We never did welfare to work. Do you remember Bill Clinton's program, Welfare to Work?
Sure do. Get you trained a couple of years on welfare, and then you would have to find some sort of work. Sure.
Absolutely. And you have to work for your benefits, even if it's getting a GED or doing community service. California never really adopted that program, and that's how we've ended up with 12% of the population and 32% of the welfare cases. We have to reform that system. And not only to save money, it will save money, and that's a good thing, but actually I think it strengthens communities. Welfare can't be a way of life. And, it's important for people to get back to work and have the dignity and the importance of a job. And,
certainly.
Bill Clinton said something, and I don't subscribe to much of Bill Clinton's politics, as you might imagine. But he did say that one of the reasons that he did welfare to work was, he was talking to a little guy, an 8-year-old boy, who said something like, now I can tell my classmates what my mommy does for a living.
Oh, that's precious, isn't it? Meg, we're going to run out of time. I've got a couple more quick questions.
Sure.
And off-roading, I had a couple of emails about that. Our open spaces, a lot of changes going on in our deserts, particularly in this region with the new greening up and the turbines, et cetera. Our off-roaders are concerned that they're dwindling spaces for them.
Yeah. Oh, well, I don't know specifically about, where the issues are. What I will say is I think everyone in California cares a lot about the environment, right? It's one of the reasons we live in this beautiful state. But I will say I think environmental regulations have gotten a little out of whack with the needs of people and jobs, and I think we have to bring that back into alignment. you probably know that I called for a one-year moratorium on AB 32, which is the bill that brings greenhouse gas emissions back to 1990 levels.
Yes.
And the reason I did is I actually think that is a case where we continue to put California at a disadvantage to our neighboring states. No other neighboring state has a bill anything like that. We think of Oregon as a pretty green state.
Yes.
They don't have anything like this. So let's look at this and make sure we understand all the economics of this. And my view is, it was enacted when we had a 4.6% unemployment rate. Now we have a 12.3 or 12.4% unemployment rate. Doesn't make a lot of sense for Californians.
Well, Meg, I'm so appreciative of you spending this time. I know you just opened an office in Orange County. Are you going to be opening one in San Bernardino County?
We have plans for a number of regional offices. One of the key elements of my campaign is to build grassroots volunteer support. In the end, you win elections by getting people to vote either by absentee ballot or go to the polls on election day. So we are going to be opening some regional offices around the state to build volunteer corps. And my view is, I'm a big believer in the power of many. And what we can do together, none of us can do alone. And I will need the help of every individual in San Bernardino County to not only win the primary, but also beat Jerry Brown, who is going to be the Democrat nominee, is what it looks like.
Oh, yeah. And, I thought it was kind of funny that Gavin Newsom drops out of the gubernatorial race, but now he may be coming in as lieutenant governor. I wonder if that was a kind of a preordained arrangement.
I don't know.
It's okay, because you're going to take them all down. We love Meg Whitman on the Barb Stanton Show. Just share yourself with us, and off the cuff. Somebody even emailed me and said, hey, you wouldn't do an interview unless I had written every question to you, and it was all preordained on this show. And I said, no, it didn't work that way. This is all just conversational.
Yeah.
Nothing was scripted. We appreciate you, Meg. We want you to come back again. We are supporters of you, and I think that through today's show, there are substantially more folks who are going to be voting for Whitman in June.
Well, I appreciate that, Barb, and it was a great pleasure to spend some time with you this afternoon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care now.